Cole was in concert a few days ago, and he spoke out in favor of Colin Kaepernick. So for those who don't know, Colin Kaepernick is a player in the NFL, basically, and he's been trying to look for a team to play for because he's now a free agent, but he's been getting overlooked by a lot of people, mainly because of the fact that he made a protest to not stand for the national anthem because it represents racism and bigotry and what have you. And a lot of people have started to outcast him and what have you. They haven't said because of that, but it's all but 99% sure that that's the main reason why.
Yeah.
So J. Cole decided to speak out on that and basically said that the NFL shouldn't be boycotting him because of his views towards politics and racism in the country, especially when you have lower caliber players who are being signed onto NFL teams to play backup positions. It was even brought to my knowledge that a player by the name of Jay Cutler was signed to the Miami Dolphins. He's been retired for at least a year now. So basically, it's like you brought this guy out of retirement who was probably in his mid-30s or late 30s at the most, whereas a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't even hit 30 yet, is still available, but you won't take him for whatever reason. Gee, I wonder why. So, to you, LC, do you feel like more public figures like J. Cole should be speaking out in favor of Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah, I feel like it's always been, like, just looking at Colin's, like, position, if you decide to be any sort of an activist, you have to remember that there's going to be repercussions, and you're literally going against a system that is not meant to have that come to light.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. I think the black community has its moments where it sticks together.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes just a lot of people just overlook it because it's not important to them.
Yeah.
But I think people should be speaking more on it in general.
Yeah.
And I think it means more when it's a public figure that isn't necessarily from the black community.
Right.
That expresses how they feel about something like that. I feel like all black people know how we feel about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, not all, but a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like almost every black person I know is aware of, like, these kind of things going on.
I hope they are.
So... I feel like when it's other cultures that choose to step in and say, like, he didn't do anything wrong, he stood up for his rights, we're supposed to be in a country of freedom, all this and that. If other cultures and ethnicities can kind of join in on that, that are public figures, then I feel like that will make more of an understanding across the nation and the system.
Right. Yeah. And two things kind of add to what you were saying. One, Colin Kaepernick is biracial, so he easily decides to swing on whichever side of the fence he wants because he has that quote-unquote privilege, which I've had a debate about with many people. But
that's his position. That's a really good privilege, right?
Exactly. There you go, right? There you go, right? Give that a cool job, too. Shit. But, and then secondly, on top of that is he was adopted. Like, both his parents are white, basically. Okay. So you would think that him having two white parents, like, he wouldn't have a better grasp of what his plight as an African American would be, because let's be honest, even though he's half black, half white, we're going to look at him as black because of his appearance, the facial features, the hair, and what have you. So for him to understand the plight that the black man goes through in America, or the black person in America goes through in general, speaks a lot about him, basically, and how quote unquote woke he is, basically, right? Like he's very conscious about that. Yeah. And it's satisfying to see that, especially as a premier athlete. Now, here's my thing. I feel like whenever a black person speaks about these like atrocities and what have you, it really depends on where your standing is and wherever you are. So let's give a big example. Jay-Z. It took him. He wouldn't have been able to do this 20 years ago, like with the 444 album, talking about black inheritance, black wealth, all that stuff. Right? He's educating. He wasn't able to do that back in Reasonable Doubt era or Volume 1 era. He had to wait until he was 47 to gain all this clout that he's gotten all these years with the 40/40s and all that stuff to do this type of project. Because had he done that midway through Rockefeller's height, he probably would have been shelved.
Yeah, and he probably would have plummeted the whole label.
So what he did was he used his leverage or privilege, so to speak, use this platform to educate people on this. Yeah. Now people are saying, oh, well, it took him this long. Well, yeah, he had to do all these things so that people can listen to him because he has that juice. Yeah. He has that juice. Same with Beyonce. Beyonce had to, put a ring on it and do all these things to put out that Lemonade album to make people realize, oh, shit, this is actually going on. It's Beyonce of all people talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's not get into semantics about who's doing it and who's been speaking about it, because you're losing sight of the message.
Yeah.
You want people to speak on it, period.
Exactly.
You've been waiting for people like Beyonce and Jay-Z to speak about it, and now they're actually doing it. Now, going back to Colin Kaepernick, I think his quote-unquote mistake was the fact that he didn't have that leverage.
Exactly. Like, he was so fresh.
Yeah, like if he was on the level of a Tom Brady, for example, or an Aaron Rodgers, or someone to that extent, or like a Cameron Stewart, people would have been listening. Sure, they would have had owners this year. Like, what is he talking about? No. I would say this. Wait until your contract is secure. Like you're riding that 8-year contract. You're at the height of your powers.
Yeah.
Then you talk your shit.
Yeah.
Because no one is going to be like, oh, well, we're not going to pay you any more money to bring us to the Super Bowl. No.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: Colin Kaepernick has kind of fallen off a little bit off of his game. He hasn't really had a meaningful season since 2014 when he went to the Super Bowl. And on top of that, now he's a free agent. No one wants to take him because of all this controversy.
Yeah.
But really what he did was speak on what's really happening in America. Yeah. Meanwhile, you got wife beaters in here.
Yeah,
you have people who are sodomizing little children.
Yeah.
You have people who are stepping on their wives and everything, but they're getting contracts. Jay Cutler hasn't been in the league for God knows how long, and he got brought back out of retirement to play in the league. I'm not a football fan by any stretch of the imagination. I just believe in deductive reasoning and common sense.
Exactly.
And when I hear about all these things happening with like Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Rice, you got Michael Vick telling this man to cut his hair. Yeah. The same nigga who had dogfighting rings like it was Def Jam Fight for New York in his house.
Yeah.
And he went to jail for 3 years out of that shit.
Yeah.
And he's the one telling him, oh, you got to cut your hair and be more presentable. You have Ray Lewis, who was almost charged with murder.
Yeah.
Telling him, oh, you gotta be humble, you gotta be humble. Next thing you know, you're gonna tell him to be a good little Negro, tap his dick, shuck and jive, and then shine his shoes while you're at it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's the disappointing part of like, that's why I say like the black community has its moments where it sticks together.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you guys doing?
Exactly.
Like, you're better off not saying anything.
Exactly.
I'd rather you not say anything than to make it seem like what he's doing is wrong.
Exactly. But ladies and gents, what do you guys think? Should people like J. Cole take a stand in favor of Colin Kaepernick? And should Colin Kaepernick have stood up at this point in time in his career right now to talk about that stuff? Either way, you agree, you disagree, hit us up on the comment section below.